Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the House State Government Committee meeting to order. Ms. Sonia, would you please take the roll?
Chair Hill Evans,
Here.
Representatives Boyd,
Designation?
Representative Brennan,
Designation?
Davidson, Green, Genst,
Designation?
Howard,
Designation?
Inglis,
Designation?
Kenyatta, Probst, Sanchez,
Here.
Schusterman,
Designation?
Waxman, Webster. Chair Roy,
Here.
Representatives Banta, Barger,
By designation.
Bonner, Brown, Diamond,
By designation.
Fink,
By designation.
Kozak, Shalaba,
Here.
Schaefer, Walsh,
By designation.
Weaknecht.
By designation.
We have a quorum.
Okay, having established the presence of a quorum, the committee is in order to proceed with business. First up, we have House Bill 193 by Representative Brennan, who is joining us this morning virtually. Rep. Brennan, can you hear us, and are you there? Okay. We are going to move on to the next one until we can make contact with Rep. Brennan. Next up is House Bill number 337, and the chair moves to report the bill, seconded by Representative Sanchez. We have with us this morning the author of the bill, Representative Green.
Good morning, Chair Lady.
Good morning.
And good morning, esteemed colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on House Bill 337. This bill would build upon the bipartisan work we began last session. When I say we, I mean Rep. Parker. And in partnership with the governor to bring free menstrual hygiene products to public schools in Pennsylvania. While this may be an uncomfortable topic for some people in this building, it absolutely is a conversation that we need to continue having. Period poverty is real. And every day in Pennsylvania, in the communities we represent and the neighborhoods we come from and call home, are women and young people who are struggling to access period supplies. And I assure you, these supplies are a necessity and not a luxury. While creating a program to put products in public schools is an absolutely game-changing first step, we should continue to do more, and more importantly, lead by example. Every year, thousands of women come through the doors of state government buildings. Some are the workers that keep our governments running. Others are people looking for help with programs or resources. House Bill 337 would make a small but meaningful change by requiring the Department of General Services to make period products available in the bathrooms of all state buildings. We think nothing of having soap, paper towels, and toilet paper in public bathrooms to address public hygiene needs. Menstrual hygiene is no different. Some of our local governments have already taken it upon themselves to do this. For example, Montgomery County is leading by example and has moved to install period product dispensers in all county buildings. This is an issue that impacts every woman in this Commonwealth, in every community, in every neighborhood, and we as state legislators should also be leading by example. Thank you, and I would appreciate your support on this bill.
Thank you, Rep. Green. Is there any discussion on the bill? Probst.
Thank you for bringing this to the light. Right before COVID, I was part of a organization called the 450 Project, because on average, a woman has 450 periods through their life on average. And when I learned about the number of absenteeism for young women that didn't go to school because they didn't have feminine hygiene products, and usually, lower income situations, I couldn't believe the numbers. And I just want to thank you for bringing this to light. It's a good cause, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on the bill? Yes. Rep. Schaefer?
Yeah, mine, this would have been a question on the first one too, but how many state buildings are there? I'm a freshman here. How many facilities are we talking about?
So we thought that question would come up. Last night, we were trying to find out just how many, and I have not gotten an answer to that question yet. But I also wanted to know how many state buildings this would impact. So as soon as I do get it, I will make sure that the committee has that information.
Anyone else? Chair Roy? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Rep. Walsh?
What would the state's responsibility financially be with this bill?
Are you asking what would be the cost?
Yes.
So again, that's a question that we're still working on, and as soon as I have that answer, I will provide the information to the committee.
Okay, thank you. I would be a no on this since we don't know what the cost is yet or the number of buildings. That was another question I had, and I didn't know if you had already covered it before I walked in, so thank you.
No, I didn't, but we do know that the governor has put a $3 million line item for this issue, and it will come under that.
Now, Chair Roy.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the number of state buildings, it's around 12,000 is the number. Now, some of those are going to be, like single vehicle garages at state parks and stuff like that, and tool sheds. And so of the 12,000 buildings, I don't know how many of them would fall under this legislation, but like PennDOT rest areas, the Capitol building, state office buildings, college, buildings. It's probably in the thousands. It's probably in the thousands. But my question is, why does the bill language show 50% of bathrooms rather than women's bathrooms?
So I would assume that we were talking about 50% of women's bathrooms, and there are also in the bill facilities and locations that are exempt from having the dispensers, and also there are some dispensers, and we would not replace them. We would just fill them. So we're not talking about, there's a whole list of facilities and places that we are not talking about, and the sheds that you're talking about is included. Right.
Okay, yeah, the language says in at least 50% of bathrooms in all state buildings. So at least 50%. So the administration or any future administration could take it up to 100% if they wanted to.
If they wanted to.
So the men's rooms and the women's rooms. Then it just seems like the price is rather large. I mean, just in school buildings, I think last year in the budget, I believe there's like $5 million or something like that for feminine hygiene products in schools. There's a couple thousand school buildings in Pennsylvania that are only open 180 days a year. It just seems like, with a budget proposal that spends about $5 billion more than we're going to take in, to add something that's going to add even more spending, I just don't think I can support that, and I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Probst, did you want to be recognized again?
I did. So how many women here that get their period or have gotten their period are in the room? Raise your hand. Okay. How many men have ever been into a woman's bathroom where you have to pay for tampons? and you're 12 years old, and anybody have you ever been in a woman's bathroom to see that you must pay for these products? So unless you're a female, and unless you've gotten your period, and unless you are not going to school because you can't afford feminine hygiene products, they're not going to steal them. Nobody is stealing tampons. They need them, and they're only taking them when they need them. Trust me, it's not fun. So unless you're a female who has gone through your menstrual cycle, I can understand how you wouldn't understand. So I'm just going to end it with that. So when we put a price tag, this is a female issue. And unless you are a female, you don't understand. And when you're that 12-year-old, like I'm sure all of us was, or 13, and you're in school and something bad happens and you're embarrassed, you don't know the situation unless you're a female. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Rep. Kenyatta?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's clear that there are folks who support this bill, folks who won't support the bill, but I think it would be useful to not couch your disagreement in something that's completely made up. Yet again, here we are with a red herring about men, I guess, who are stealing tampons or whatever, like weird QAnon website these things come on. But the reality is we should take what the maker of the bill has clearly laid out. Let's debate what's actually being debated. And the conversation we're having is that the same way that as a Commonwealth we invest in hygiene for hand washing and everything else, we should make sure that the women of the state have access to the basic hygiene needs that they have during the times when they need it. And so that's what's at stake here. And so every other argument about these other frivolous issues, it's not in the bill, has nothing to do with this conversation. And so if you want to oppose the bill because of the cost or how many buildings there are, totally you're right, and folks will vote how they vote based on what they feel and think. But let's not drag in nonsense, non sequiturs that have nothing to actually do with this bill and hold that up as a piece of your opposition. If you support women, then support women right now. We have an incredible colleague who's sitting in front of us with a bill talking about a need that is clearly pronounced for women who show up every single day in our state buildings, who deserve to have access to all of the full spectrum of hygiene products that they need. I'm going to be voting yes because I support women, and voting no is not somehow supporting women with this weird logic. So let's have a serious conversation about serious things and get off 4chan.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rep. Waxman?
Thank you, and thank you to the bill sponsor for bringing this before the committee and our chairwoman for considering it. I just want to point out that there's a lot of time left in the process for a bill once it leaves a standing committee. There's the Appropriations Committee. I mean, we will get all of the information and calculations in terms of costs for this bill as part of the normal appropriations process that happens for every bill. This wouldn't get to the floor for a vote unless it is, given a cost in the Appropriations Committee. And so I think that's a little bit of a red herring to try to bring up that issue now at this point in the process. There's still a tremendous amount of time left in the process for those discussions to be had. We know that the governor has set aside funding for this. We have a rough estimate, with a number of buildings. And so I just want to point that out, that there's really no reason at this stage in the process to oppose the bill on those grounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Fink?
I do agree with the good representative. We should be discussing what is actually in the bill and not assuming certain things. But the problem is we don't know what the bill is going to cover. We don't know how many buildings you're talking about. We don't know which bathrooms that we're doing this to. We don't know what the cost is going to be. So if we're here to discuss the bill, to debate the bill, I think we should have all the information so that we can properly do that. Yes, the governor has set aside money for this. The governor has set aside money that the Commonwealth does not have. So I'm not sure where the money is coming from, but I think that we should know the ins and outs of the bill so that we can properly discuss them here in committee. That is the point of the committee. I'll be a no.
Thank you. We have been joined by Rep. Inglis online. Any other discussion on the bill? I'm sorry. And Rep. Webster has joined us as well.
Just a short comment from our,
Oh, you wanted to speak. I apologize.
yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thanks, Chairwoman. Just a short comment for, I guess, from a guy with a little bit of experience in government procurement. If you do the math on the buildings and an estimate and 50% of the bathrooms, there's a little upfront cost in this, but it's probably $1 million or $2 million a year to, at the most, to accommodate Pennsylvania's girls and women as they go through their menstrual experiences. This isn't a hard task for a modern government. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Schaefer.
Yes, thank you. I'll just state, I don't have a conceptual problem with this. I guess one question as I just considered, it's within the governor's power right now to provide these. There's nothing preventing the state from providing menstrual products in restrooms. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And was there an estimate as to if that happens now, or is it not happening?
It's not happening.
It's not happening at all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Chair Roy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just do want to remind the committee members, the budget proposal uses $4.5 billion of surplus and rainy day fund and uses $1 billion plus of tax increases. So the reserve funds, the rainy day fund, they're all empty about 3 years from now. So even if we pass this, I don't know how it would be funded in future years, because we have a structural deficit of several $1 billion a year, and we shouldn't be adding to the deficit. And right, and our information shows, according to the DGS website, that menstrual hygiene products are available at a lot of state buildings currently.
A lot.
And I don't know why the governor hasn't just done it on his own for all buildings, only some buildings, but that comes at a cost too. And one other thing I want to say too is somebody had mentioned unless somebody is a woman who has had a menstrual cycle, they can't really talk on this bill. Well, there's a lot of things we talk about in the legislature. So unless somebody's a veteran, they shouldn't talk about veteran issues. Unless somebody was adopted, they shouldn't talk about, foster care. Unless somebody's a volunteer firefighter, they shouldn't talk about how hard it is to be a volunteer firefighter. Unless somebody has been, we do that every day. We deal with things that we haven't personally experienced. So hopefully, and then I think somebody used language, something like crazy ideas or ridiculous ideas, and I don't think language like that is helpful. I don't think people supporting this bill, I don't think they have ridiculous ideas or crazy ideas. I just disagree with them, but hopefully the rhetoric can stay more positive and more more friendly as we debate bills. But I would urge members to vote no on this one. The state just doesn't have the money to do it. Thank you.
Rep. Kenyatta for the
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to be very friendly in saying that I think that everybody who needs menstrual health care, menstrual products should have access to them. But I do want to take issue with a part of how this conversation has gone. So a couple of things just are incongruent. So the argument is that the state is already doing this, so we don't need the bill. But then the argument is also we can't afford to do this. Those two things to me feel in conflict with one another. The reason we need the bill is because it's not being done in every state building, and we're trying to mandate it because the need is apparent. And I also just want to put on the record that tampons are not going to bankrupt the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for anybody who is concerned. Maybe some of the other issues that are happening with our economy might have an impact moving forward on the Commonwealth, but but I feel pretty confident in saying that tampons and pads will not lead to the bankrupt of the state of Pennsylvania. I think the Commonwealth will be just fine.
Thank you. And seeing no further discussion, Sonia, please call the roll.
Chair Hill Evans?
Yes.
Representative Boyd?
Yes, designation.
Brennan?
Designation, yes.
Yes.
Davidson?
Designation, yes.
Green?
Yes.
Genst?
Designation, yes.
Howard?
Designation, yes.
Inglis?
Designation, yes.
Kenyatta? Probst? Sanchez?
Yes.
Schusterman?
Designation, yes.
Waxman? Yes. Webster?
Yes.
Chair Roy?
No.
Representative Spanta? Barger?
No by designation.
Bonner? Brown? Diamond?
No by designation.
Fink?
No.
Kozak? Shalaba? Schaefer? Walsh?
No.
Weaknicked.
No by designation.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Rep. Green, for coming before us. We appreciate it. Now we're going to go back to our first agenda item, which is House Bill. If I could have everyone's attention, please. House Bill 193 by Representative Brennan, who is joining us online.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. I started my last effort here saying why you couldn't see me. Clearly, I had bigger problems because no one could hear it. So
Okay, before you continue, as the chair, I am going to report this bill, and it is going to be seconded by Representative Waxman. So now you may proceed. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. This was originally a bipartisan bill. Hopefully, we can make it a bipartisan bill again. It was originally put forward by Representative Quinn probably 8 or 10 years ago. I became interested in this issue the day before I was sworn in for the first time. We saw on national TV, what happened to Damar Hamlin on Monday Night Football, where he had a sudden cardiac event, and the only thing that saved his life was quick action from athletic training staff and having an AED present. This is a condition where your heart stops. It could be an electrical malfunction. It can happen to anyone. It could happen because of dehydration. It could happen because of an eating disorder. Any number of things can cause it to happen. Nearly 500,000 people have a cardiac arrest each year. That's something like 1,000 a day. And 90% of the times they're fatal when they occur outside of the hospital setting. The survival rate jumps up exponentially if an AED is applied. Unfortunately, 60% of the time, bystanders don't do anything except call 911, and at that point, it's going to be too late for the victim. So a quick application of AED could save a life, could lessen complications. And that's and complications like brain damage and other types of problems. So 20% of these cardiac arrests occur in public buildings. And this bill is meant to increase survival rates, decrease complications, and save more Pennsylvania lives. It requires one defibrillator in state buildings as defined. It has an additional amount for or additional AED for every 70,000 square feet. That's bigger than a football field, and provides exemptions for certain exemptions too. Hearing Representative Waxman talk about the fiscal notes and figuring out this at a later stage, I do happen to have the fiscal note from last year. The cost as of last year was $67,500. So I encourage a yes vote, and thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for bringing this up.
Thank you, sir. Are there any discussions or questions on the bill? Yes, Rep. Schaefer?
Well, I think hearing that physical note of 67,000, I think this is a good idea. I think anything we can do to save lives, and so you can make it a bipartisan bill with, I'll sign on to it.
Thank you. Rep. Walsh?
Yes, I just have a question. $67,500, that was for the initial investment?
It is for as defined in there. It's 30 state buildings. Average cost of an AED is $2,000. Cabinets are $250. That's probably the initial, but I mean, you're going to have to replace them periodically. My recollection is the shelf life of these, I think it's over 10 years. But again, this is just because I happen to have the fiscal note from last year.
Okay, they do have to be recertified every single year too, at a cost of around $400 to $500. Just so you know, and again, just so everybody knows, that's obviously just something that should be figured in as well. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions on the bill? Before I come to you. Okay, Chair Roy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, if the total number of state buildings is about 12,000, now some of those, like I said before, they're, tool sheds, vehicle garages that just have a room for one or two vehicles, things like that. But out of the thousands of state buildings that would be covered under this, is there any indication why the administration has put AEDs in all of those buildings except for 30 of them? And I support the bill because I think there should be AEDs, but I'm just curious why the administration would put AEDs in all the state buildings except for 30 of them, and it would take a new state law to get them to put it in the last 30 remaining places where there should be one. Is there an indication why that is?
Well, I don't necessarily think that there are AEDs in every building. The number that they looked at last year that this would apply to, it excludes. And I was thinking this in the last bill too. There's probably not bathrooms in a lot of those places that you're referencing. Like some of the things that are excluded in this bill are salt storage facilities, unoccupied storage buildings, maintenance shed, temporary structures. So maybe that number that you're looking at includes a lot of those things that just, they're not people in. So this would require it as a policy, and it would be an opportunity to save lives.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair. And okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the bill? Seeing no further discussion, Sonia, please call the roll.
Chair Hill Evans,
Yes.
Representatives Boyd,
Designation, yes.
Brennan,
Designation, yes.
Davidson,
Designation, yes.
Green, Genst,
Designation, yes.
Howard,
Designation, yes.
Inglis,
Designation, yes.
Kenyatta, Probst,
Designation, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Schusterman,
Designation, yes.
Waxman, Webster,
Yes.
Chair Roy,
Yes.
Representatives Banta, Barger,
Yes by designation.
Bonner, Brown,
Yes by designation.
Diamond,
Yes by designation.
Yes.
Fink, Kozak, Shalaba,
Yes by designation.
Schaefer,
Yes by designation.
Walsh,
No.
Weeknecht.
Yes by designation.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And House Bill 193 is reported as committed from the House State Government Committee. Moving on to the next item is House Bill 707 by Representative Mays, who joins us this morning. The microphone is yours. Excuse me. Do I have a motion? I will be making a motion to bring House Bill 707 up for discussion, seconded by Representative Green.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Good morning to you both. I'm here this morning to discuss House Bill 707, which is a bill to require our very popular conversation this morning that all Commonwealth-owned buildings have a nursing parents room. And I just want to start by saying that for the women in this building, it's actually really hard to find a women's bathroom in the Capitol. So imagine if you are a new mom or a nursing mom trying to find a place to privately and in a sanitary way breastfeed or pump for your baby, pump the milk, express the milk that you need for your baby. And I wanted to ask my colleagues, do you know where a lactation room is in the Capitol? So there is a room right around the corner from here in B61. And so are there signs in the Capitol that indicate where you can nurse? And the answer is no. So I am excited to share that the Department of General Services has done great work to make sure that lactation and nursing rooms are available in the buildings in the Capitol. But unfortunately, those rooms are not accessible to the public. They are only accessible to employees or staffers or people who work for the Commonwealth or our legislature. So I've heard conversations where a woman, a visitor, a new mom has to breastfeed or pump, and she doesn't know where to go. And unless she knows a staffer, unless she knows a member of the House or Senate who, she's at their mercy to be able to use their office to pump. And so in an effort to make our Commonwealth-owned buildings more accessible for moms, especially new moms, I've introduced this bill, House Bill 707, to one, identify where the need is, where the greatest utilization would be for these types of rooms. And I just want to say that these rooms are not bathrooms, they're not restrooms, they're not stalls, they're not janitors' closets. They are dedicated spaces so that new moms can nurse, pump, breastfeed as they need to when they're doing business or coming to any of our Commonwealth-owned buildings for the services that they need. Currently, there are 19 lactation rooms here in the Capitol in Commonwealth-owned buildings. That is not the case across the state. And so obviously we will work with the Department of General Service to identify where the greatest need is. And oftentimes it's a building in that facility already. So this is not about new construction. This is also the opportunity to use some new and innovative technology called pods, where we can just install a pod in a particular building to be used in a very efficient way, space-saving way, and a cost savings way. Privacy is important. Having access to electricity and water is important where possible. Having access to be able to store breast milk is where possible. All these things contribute to making the Commonwealth and our buildings accessible for moms across the state. So I just want to thank you all for considering House Bill 707. I do ask for a yes vote, and happy to answer questions that I can and work with you all, my colleagues, and again, the Department of General Services to give us the best bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rep. Mays. There is an amendment to this bill. We will reserve any questions about the bill until we get to the motion. I am bringing this motion up for discussion. It is this amendment, I apologize. It is A00308. Nick, would you just give us a few words on that?
A00308 modifies the minimum net usable square feet requirement of a nursing parent room from 80 square feet to 50 square feet, and it redefines Commonwealth-owned buildings as the state capitol, the governor's residence, the judicial center, the state museum, and any building title to the Commonwealth in which the public comes to obtain services from the Commonwealth. These changes are at the request of DGS.
Okay, and this amendment was seconded by Representative Kenyatta. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Any questions? Yes, Chair Roy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the amendment does improve the bill. I thought the 80 square feet in the original bill sounded kind of big. Just comparatively speaking, the International Red Cross, they recommend a minimum of 58 square feet for a prison cell for a prisoner. And this bill had 80 square feet for, the breastfeeding room. And that's still, the 50 square feet, that it changes to still seems, I'm not sure how that number was picked. At our house, my wife and I have a small house, our downstairs bathroom is 40 square feet. It's 8 by 5. There's a tub, a sink, a toilet. So if our house was a state building, we couldn't rip out the bathroom and use that as a breastfeeding room because it'd be 10 square feet too little. But it's better than the 80 square feet. And the language limits the number of buildings. The original bill didn't really limit. It sounds like it would have been about all 12,000 buildings the state has. So it limits it to the ones that people go to. So I support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any negative votes on the amendment? No negative votes on the amendment. Okay, so the amendment is approved, and now we will go back to the main bill, House Bill 707. Are there any questions or comments on House Bill 707? Rep. Kenyatta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to thank the maker of the bill for just highlighting the need of moms and making sure we're doing everything in this building that moms can fully participate in their government and engage with the state in all the different ways as consumers, as advocates. And I also want to use this opportunity to shout out my sister and my new nephew, Chase. And my sister is breastfeeding right now, and every time I call her, I hear that pump going, and she has in excruciating detail explained to me, the needs of a new mom who's going through the breastfeeding journey. And so I'm just really pleased that today we're taking up legislation that would make it possible for her and Chase and all the moms out there and their young people to engage with these beautiful buildings and participate fully in their government. And so thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rep. Kenyatta. Chair Roy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question. Was there an estimated cost of what it would be to implement this?
So the Department of General Services has already begun to undertake, they were already working on the concept of how do we make our buildings more accessible. I don't have a number for you. I look forward to, with this amendment, I look forward to working with the Department of General Services more closely to give us the answers to the questions that have been asked today about how many buildings is it. In our case, it will be about utilization. Because some buildings are just going to have more foot traffic. But we are looking at 127,000 births a year in the Commonwealth. We would imagine a number of them will engage with our state buildings. And so I don't have a number for you, but I do look forward to working closely with the Department of General Services. And I do understand that they are considering these pods that I mentioned. The brand is Mamava, and so they have been a leader on kind of eliminating what it would take to construct a space, and it's just a space that you bring to the facility, and probably doesn't even use 50 square feet. To your point.
Well, I think under the bill it would have to be at least 50 square feet.
Yeah.
Interior, usable space.
And there are different options that you can use, but I'm just mentioning that there's different varieties that are they're pre-built, they're prefabricated pods that you can bring into a facility.
And I am concerned about the cost. Almost every woman I know, has breastfed and or pumped at some point. So it's just a natural thing. I do worry about, like in my district, I'm just trying to think, like the rest areas along the interstate highways. You go in, there's like a lobby area, women's restroom, men's restroom. There's vending machines and stuff in the lobby. I'm not sure where this would go. Our PennDOT driver's license center, a fairly small waiting room. There's one room you get your picture taken in, another room you take your driver's test. There's like an office area for the manager or whoever. There's a lot of state buildings where it's not going to be very feasible. It's going to be very expensive actually building additions onto buildings. And again, with multi-billion-dollar budget deficit we're looking at, I just can't support doing something that's going to add cost to the state budget that already has, $4.5 billion taken out of surplus and out of the rainy day fund, another $1 billion of tax increases. I just can't support increasing state spending. Thank you.
I just want to point out that to my colleague's point from Philadelphia, having a 19-month-old baby, I didn't realize all that it takes, the labor, the time, the urgency around breastfeeding and pumping. So it's kind of like going to the bathroom. When you have to go, you have to go. So whether you are at the DMV, at a PennDOT location, whether you are on the highways and byways of the Turnpike, which I travel regularly, it's important that every 50 miles that you might need to make from one destination to another, that when you get to that rest stop, that you're able to breastfeed. And while our facilities are beautiful, you want to make sure that a mom has the greatest, most private and most sanitary way to do a natural thing, which is to feed her baby. So I just want to point that out. I hear you, Chair. I hear that we have to really consider the spaces that we're looking at. And I'm sure that the Department of General Services and I and my colleagues can figure this out together.
I can answer a couple of the questions the members had. The 50 square foot was determined by DGS due to the size of the pods being 50 square feet. That's the design they've chosen. And as for which buildings would have them or be required to have them, which wouldn't, it would only be Commonwealth-owned buildings in which the public comes for services. So it wouldn't be rest stops. It would be, specific buildings where the public is going for, services related to Commonwealth government services, such as PennDOT facilities. But it wouldn't be just every rest stop. It would only be if the public's going there for services.
Representative Walsh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions. Do you know the pre-made pods that you were talking about? Do you know what the cost is on the pre-made pods?
Yes, and I'm not sure if it's the 50 square foot pod, but where there was a price readily available, it listed it at $9,600. But that's if you're buying one. I'm sure there would be bulk pricing for the number we would need.
And per building, would you expect, how many of these pods would you expect, like in a building? Is it like one per floor, or is it just one per building?
I would imagine one per building, but it's going to depend on the building. It's going to depend on utilization of the building. It's going to depend on that building offering services. So I can't say universally, but I would imagine one per building. I don't think it.
Yeah, the bill does state one per building.
Oh, one per building?
That's the language of the bill.
Okay. And, just knowing I have a background in construction, and typically it's, if we can't do a pre-made pod, typically renovations are anywhere between $100 to $150 a square foot. So you're looking at a remodel of somewhere between $5,000 to $7,500 on remodeling a current room. And that's just saying if you don't have to run new water to it. If you have to run new water and things like that, plumbing, it could get pretty expensive. So I just dislike voting on things that we have absolutely no idea of how many buildings, how much each one is going to cost. I wouldn't do this at my own home. And I don't feel comfortable doing that with taxpayer money. And that's the only reason that I will be a no on it, okay?
Rep. Waxman?
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you so much to the bill sponsor for bringing this forward and championing this issue. Again, I'll just point out that we are at the beginning of the process, not the end of the process. We have an appropriations committee, an appropriations process that will get us a fiscal note for this and any other bill that comes before us that we need to get more information on. I would say I don't think we have no idea. I think we had an amendment that very much narrowed the scope of this bill and got very, very specific about what kinds of buildings this was going to go into with consultation from the Department of General Services. I'm not a contractor and I don't play one on TV, so I'm not going to tell DHS Department of General Services how they should go about remodeling rooms. I trust our folks who manage our buildings to do that. So I guess what I keep on coming back to is to wonder what is the real agenda here, because we're not talking about building new buildings, we're not talking about new structures, and it seems to me that we unfortunately have a situation where any bill that seems to do anything becomes a target of certain lawmakers. I want to remind people that the budget that was presented by the governor is a balanced budget. Let me say that again. The budget that was presented by the governor, everything that they propose to pay for in their budget is clearly how they're going to pay for it and how they're going to do it. Now, that may change as part of the process. We may wind up, doing things differently than what was proposed. That's normal. That's what happens. But the idea that we're spending money that we don't have, or that this has some sort of connection to, poor financial management, everything in that budget is balanced. It has to be, based on the Constitution. So I'm a yes vote on this bill. I'm looking forward to voting for it here. I'm looking forward to voting for it in appropriations and when it gets to the House floor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do just want to say, while we're having these discussions, that we do want to stay focused on what it is at hand. We are here. Yes, everything that we do is going to have some kind of effect on the budget, but we want to discuss these bills. Typically, we don't get any of that information until after a bill comes before us, as he said. But I don't want to make this, a condemnation or anything else as far as budget goes. I want to stay on point. I want us to get through these bills, have good, honest discussions about the bills that are before us, respectful of everybody's opinion and time. So that said, Rep. Green, you have comments on this bill?
Yes. Good morning. I would like to thank the maker of the bill, and I absolutely agree with you, Chair Lady. Let's go back to what this bill is about, and that's feeding our children. We know that breast milk in the early ages is the best milk that a child can have. So I want to thank you for bringing this up. I want everyone to just keep in mind that we're talking about babies and we're talking about raising our children and having a clean, sanitized space and place to do it in. So again, I want to thank you on behalf of mothers and grandmothers. I want to thank you for bringing this bill forward, and I'm a hard yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Sonia, please call the roll.
Chair Hill Evans,
Yes.
Representatives Boyd,
Designation yes.
Brennan,
Designation yes.
Davidson,
Designation yes.
Green, Genst,
Designation yes.
Howard,
Designation yes.
Inglis,
Designation yes.
Kenyatta, Probst,
Designation yes.
Sanchez, Schusterman,
Designation yes.
Waxman, Webster,
Yes.
Chair Roy,
No.
Representatives Banta,
No by designation.
Barger,
No by designation.
Bonner, Brown,
No by designation.
Diamond,
No by designation.
Fink,
No.
Kozak, Shalaba,
No by designation.
Schaefer,
No by designation.
Walsh,
No.
Weaknecht.
No by designation.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. Next up is, I'll be reporting House Bill 1046 by Representative Freeman, seconded by Representative Green. Representative Freeman joins us this morning. The microphone is yours, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Chair Hill Evans, Chair Orr, members of the committee. Thank you for bringing my legislation up for consideration today, and I hope you'll be passing it to the floor. My legislation would create the official position of Pennsylvania Poet Laureate. A number of other states, in fact, 47 states, have that position, as does the United States of America. And we did have a position of a Poet Laureate during the Casey administration, but I believe it was by executive order because it did not continue beyond his term of office. The fact that so many local governments also have Poet Laureates, Philadelphia, York, Erie, I think recognizes the important role that a Poet Laureate can have to a community or state in promoting a recognition and understanding of the contemporary contributions of this literary art form to our Commonwealth and its culture. The position would not receive any compensation. There would be the ability to receive expenses for travel and the like, but there's no salary attached to it. Poetry has a way of uplifting humanity, of reminding us and inspiring us of great things. And it seems appropriate that it should be something that we would use at various important events. Under the legislation, it refers to the Poet Laureate giving a poetry reading at the governor's inauguration, and at the request of either the President Pro Tem of the Senate or the Speaker of the House, they could do so also at the opening of our biannual session of the legislature as well as other official occasions. I think it's appropriate, and I think it does set a good tone as to any formal occasion that should have a Poet Laureate's reading.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on House Bill 1046? Representative Webster.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just a quick endorsement. I think I said this a year ago when we saw this bill before. As if I'm not the only one, I'm sure I'm one of only a few who have a master's degree in English where I did as a thesis a collection of poetry. I'm not probably the Poet Laureate, but I would endorse this idea. The language of a poet, the rhythm and the pace creates a sensation that we should share at grand moments in our governing, and that inspires people across the Commonwealth. It's just a culturally powerful thing to do, and I certainly endorse the idea for Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Maybe even volunteer for the nomination committee.
Oh, there is a nomination committee, too, of 5 individuals who would select 3 names to submit to the governor for the appointment.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? We have been joined by Representative Schusterman. Chair Roy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's a well-intended bill, but I don't see it as being necessary. If the governor wanted a Poet Laureate, he could just do it by executive order. If the speaker wanted a poem read at swearing-in day, the speaker could just appoint somebody to read a poem. The 5-person board, it's interesting that they're all appointments of the governor. Usually on different boards, there's usually legislative appointments. Usually there's one branch of government doesn't control 100% of it, but on this one, it's all controlled by the governor. You have the Secretary of Education. You have, I think, a college professor that's appointed by the governor. You have, some other thing that was appointed by the governor. You have the head of the Pennsylvania Council of Arts that's appointed by the governor. All the positions are controlled by the governor, and it just seems like if there was going to be some kind of a thing, it should be spread out a little bit. But it's just hard to imagine that any resident of Pennsylvania has ever said having a Poet Laureate is a priority of state government. I mean, people are more concerned with taxes and crime and things like that. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
If I may, although it may not be a priority amongst many people, I think it is something which is appropriate, as we've seen by having 47 other states designated Poet Laureate, many local governments, the U.S. government as well. And I think by having an official position and a committee to select, there is a greater chance that they will select an individual who rises to that occasion, who has the expertise and the knowledge in poetry to present something that we can all embrace, a unifying moment, if you will, in terms of our official duties and our official ceremonies. Currently, a speaker or a president pro tem or a governor could appoint their own person for the moment and place, but by having an official poet laureate, they would be there for other occasions that might arise as well. And again, would hopefully set a unifying tone and an inspiring tone in terms of any kind of official meeting at no cost other than expenses.
Are there any other questions or discussions? Hearing none, Sonia, please call the roll.
Chair Hill Evans?
Yes.
Representatives Boyd?
Yes, designation.
Brennan?
Designation, yes.
Davidson?
Designation, yes.
Green? Genst?
Designation, yes.
Howard?
Designation, yes.
Inglis?
Designation, yes.
Kenyatta? Probst?
Designation, yes.
Sanchez? Schusterman? Waxman? Webster?
Yes.
Chair Roy?
No.
Representatives Banta?
No by designation.
Barger?
No by designation.
Bonner? Brown?
No by designation.
Diamond?
No by designation.
Fink?
No.
Kozak?
No by designation.
Shalaba?
No by designation.
Schaefer?
No by designation.
Walsh?
No by designation.
Weaknecht?
No by designation.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And House Bill 1046 by Chair Freeman is reported as committed from the House State Government Committee. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
being
Madam
here.
Chair.
Appreciate you. And now we'll move on to the resolutions that we have. The Chair moves to report Resolution 110 by Representative Freeman, recognizing April 2025 as National Poetry Month in Pennsylvania. Sir, would you like to have a few? Oh, it's seconded by Rep. Schusterman.
Yes, I'd be
Would you
happy
like to say a few
make a few brief remarks. Just that this is declaring April 2025 National Poetry Month in Pennsylvania. The Academy of American Poets established the observance of National Poetry Month in 1996. And again, it's to highlight the importance of this literary art form, which has influenced so much of the rest of the arts, whether it be music or plays or films, and which is a great learning tool for students in the classroom to get a better command of the English language and to learn of the importance of poetry in inspiring one's life and making an impact in our society. So I'd urge a yes vote for the resolution. It makes a good companion bill to my Poet Laureate bill, and we are in the month of April, so it is timely. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on Resolution 110? Are there any negative votes? Okay, please call the roll.
Yeah, we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Please call the roll.
Chair Hill Evans?
Yes.
Representatives Boyd?
Designation, yes.
Brennan?
Designation, yes.
Davidson?
Designation, yes.
Green? Genst?
Designation, yes.
Howard?
Designation, yes.
Inglis?
Designation, yes.
Kenyatta?
Yes.
Probst?
Designation, yes.
Sanchez? Schusterman? Waxman? Webster?
Yes.
Chair Roy?
Yes.
Representatives Banta?
Yes by designation.
Barger?
No by designation.
Bonner? Brown?
Yes by designation.
Diamond?
Yes by designation.
Fink?
No.
Kozak?
No by designation.
Shalaba?
No by designation.
Schaefer?
Yes by designation.
Walsh?
Yes by designation.
Weaknecht?
Yes by designation.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And House Resolution 110 by Chair Freeman passes is as committed from the House State Government Committee. Next up is House Resolution 123, and I will be reporting House Resolution 123, seconded by Representative Waxman. We have Representative Curry recognizing April 2025 as Sikh Heritage Month. She is joining us this morning. The microphone is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. It is a true honor to welcome the Sikh community of Delaware County as they came last session together to celebrate Vaisakhi, one of the most significant and meaningful dates in the Sikh calendar. My district has a large population of Sikhs, and it is always a great honor to represent them and to celebrate this holiday with them. It takes place annually on April 13th or 14th, and Vaisakhi marks the start of the Sikh New Year and holds great historical importance. This day commemorates a moment when Sikhism was established as a collective faith in 1699, uniting people under one common belief and vision. Vaisakhi is not only a spiritual milestone, but also a long-standing harvest festival that has brought communities together for centuries. It is a time for reflection, renewal, and celebration where families and friends and communities gather to honor both the cultural and spiritual traditions that define the Sikh faith. For Sikhs, Vaisakhi represents the core values of community service, equality, and devotion to the well-being of others. As we join in this celebration, we recognize the importance of Vaisakhi in fostering unity, understanding, and respect across diverse communities. It is a time for all of us to reflect on the shared values that unite us, values of compassion, selflessness, and service to others. Congratulations to the Sikh community of Delaware County and to all the communities across the Commonwealth as they observe this joyful and sacred occasion. May this Vaisakhi bring blessings of peace, prosperity, and unity to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on House Resolution 123? Are there any no votes? Okay. Sonia, would you please call the roll?
Chair Hill Evans,
Yes.
Representatives Boyd,
Designation yes.
Brennan,
Designation yes.
Davidson,
Designation yes.
Green, Genst,
Designation yes.
Howard,
Designation yes.
Inglis,
Designation yes.
Kenyatta, Probst,
Designation yes.
Sanchez, Schusterman, Waxman, Webster, Chair Roy,
Yes.
Representatives Banta,
Yes by designation.
Barger,
No by designation.
Bonner, Brown,
Yes by designation.
Diamond,
Yes by designation.
Fink,
No.
Kozak,
No by designation.
Shalaba,
No by designation.
Schaefer,
Yes by designation.
Walsh,
Yes by designation.
Weeknecht.
Yes by designation.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
House
very much.
Resolution 123 is reported as committed from the House State Government Committee. Thank you for joining us. And last on our agenda is House Resolution 171. I move to report the bill. It is seconded by Representative Webster. And it is recognizing April 24th, 2025 as Pennsylvania's Day of Remembrance of the Armenian Genocide of 1915 through 1923. I think I just took all your words, didn't I? You had the mic, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, colleagues. And if it's all the same, I'll just sit here rather than the front of the room, if that's okay, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. Colleagues, the Turkish Ottoman Empire's genocide against the Armenian people has a long history of denial. For over 100 years, the fictitious arguments that this genocide never occurred or that the term genocide does not apply persist, attempting to erase the approximately 1 million Armenians who lost their lives solely due to differences in ideology. For too long, America's priority was not causing harm to our relationship with our ally, Turkey. As Turkey denied its genocide against the Armenian people, America mostly did the same. For decades, attempts to speak out otherwise were largely unpopular and received opposition. Finally, in 2019, bipartisan resolutions were introduced in Congress recognizing the Armenian genocide, rejecting its denial, and educating the public on its occurrence. And in 2021, 106 years after the genocide, that on a national level, America officially recognized the Ottoman Empire's mass killings. While this was an important milestone, persistent denial of the Armenian genocide continues to this day, and it's an institutional injustice. That's what makes House Resolution 171 so important. This resolution provides the means for us as a Commonwealth to come together across party lines and acknowledge the truth of history, honor the memory of the victims, and stand against the denial and distortion that perpetuate harm to Armenian communities. House Resolution 171 gives us the opportunity to say the truth out loud, to stand together in recognition of this genocide, honor its survivors and their descendants, and push back against the forces of denial. By remembering and openly condemning these atrocities against the Armenian people, we affirm the need for constant vigilance to prevent similar acts from occurring. I respectfully ask my colleagues for your yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on House Resolution 171? Seeing none, we'll just go right to the roll, please.
Chair Hill Evans?
Yes.
Representatives Boyd?
Yes. Designation.
Brennan?
Yes. Designation.
Davidson?
Yes. Designation.
Green?
Yes. Designation.
Genst?
Yes. Designation.
Howard?
Yes. Designation.
Inglis?
Yes. Designation.
Kenyatta? Probst?
Yes. Designation.
Sanchez? Schusterman?
Yes. Designation.
Waxman? Yes. Webster?
Yes.
Chair Roy?
Yes.
Representatives Banta?
Yes by designation.
Barger?
No by designation.
Bonner?
Yes by designation.
Brown?
Yes by designation.
Diamond?
Yes by designation.
Fink?
No.
Kozak?
Yes by designation.
Shalaba?
No by designation.
Schaefer?
Yes by designation.
Welsh?
Yes by designation.
Weaknecht?
Yes by designation.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And House Resolution 171 will be reported as committed from House State Government Committee. Is there any other business before this committee? Seeing no further business, the House State Government Committee meeting is now adjourned.